Good evening and welcome to Ignite News on 6 at 6. It's Friday, April 4th, 2025. I'm Rihanna Nikram. Thanks for joining us. Here are the highlights. Prime Minister signs electricity generation agreement. Government providing opportunities for small investors in the oil and gas sector. Local authority subvention increases to $30 million for neighborhood democratic councils and $50 million for municipalities. And government to discuss tariffs with the U.S. The government of Guyana today signed a U.S. $422.2 million contract with PowerChina and Kalpataru for the installation of power transmission lines and the establishment of 5 new power substations. The signing, which took place at the office of the Prime Minister, saw the awarding of lots 1 and 3 to PowerChina at a value of US $265 million, and lot 2 to Kalpataru for $156.5 million. The lots include 155 kilometers of 230 kilovolt double circuit transmission lines, as well as 167 kilometers of 69 kilovolt double circuit transmission lines. The 230 kilovolt lines will interconnect from the Godvractin substation to a new substation being constructed in Williamsburg, East Berbice. Meanwhile, the 69 kilovolt lines include the replacement of the current 69 kilovolt line along the railway embankment and the interconnection to this new substation in East Berbice.
This signing today is part of the design to improve the energy infrastructure. What it means is that the plant that is being constructed at Wales, the power have to move from Wales into the rest of the country. One part of that power will come from Wales over the Demerara River, the Garden of Eden, into the backlands, and it will terminate at a location behind Eccles. They call it Godvractin. I was there yesterday. I saw what the substations are being delivered to the people of Guyana, and I can tell you it is impressive. I put a post out on it yesterday, so number of portionship. It is impressive. The technology that is there, that is done by the current one of the awardees today, Kalpataru, has the best in class technology. It has Siemens Energy, it has ABB technology, it has Hitachi technology, and others. I saw the transformers on the ground. One of the transformers, 375 MVA transformers, weighing 241 tons. Just imagine you have to have that transported in the roads of Guyana and move. Just think about the kind of industrialization you're seeing here. That substation will receive bulk power. So the bulk power that is being produced at Wales will be transmitted through these very transmission lines. Remember, we had one before. We had a contract awarded to Kalpataru before this here today that would have built about 86 kilometers of transmission line between 230 kVA or kV and 69 kV. So the 69 kV, 69,000 volts moving from Wales to Bridgenope, where we have a substation there. And the 230 kV is moving from Wales to behind Eccles, a location behind it, where there are 2 massive substations. To break down that power from 230,000 volts to 69,000 volts, and then it will be transmitted to Sophia. Part of it will go to Sophia, and there's a control center right next door, a main control center that is being constructed now by PowerChina to make sure that that power is dispatched across the country. Now herein lies the problem. How much have to be evacuated to East Coast and the Berbice area? And how is that power going to move from the main control center to the East Coast, East and West Coast Berbice? And right now, we do not have the transmission lines to accommodate the bulk power movement to communities, to new development, to new housing system, to new industrial parks, to new industrial zones. We don't have that capacity to move bulk power. These contracts that we are signing today is to accommodate the movement of that power from the central location towards East Coast, towards Region 5 and Region 6.
The new substations will be located at LBI, Enmore, Trafalgar, Williamsburg, and Number 53 Village. The government has identified 3 major oil and gas businesses in which citizens can invest. This is according to Dr. Barjak Dio, who explained that these initiatives will cater to the common man and will require only a small capital investment. This opportunity, he explained, will not be extended to large investors, thereby offering a fair chance to individuals with an interest in entrepreneurship.
We've already identified about 3 big business opportunities in the oil and gas sector that we can tailor for small people in the economy, small investors that they can share the prosperity to. And I'm talking about people, you can do it in increments of 50,000 investments or 100,000 and stuff. And to exclude some of the bigger guys from these investment vehicles, where they can invest in other types of investment vehicles, and opportunities. So it is a huge thing that we're talking about now. We have some intense discussions. We've had those discussions for a while, but we have to, that would be one of the key issues in the future.
Jagdeo also noted that the PPP has already indicated that, if re-elected in the upcoming elections, they will continue the distribution of cash grants to all qualifying citizens. He explained that this is part of a broader plan to create a more financially stable society. The grant, according to the VP, can be used as capital to invest in opportunities aimed at building wealth for the local population.
We've already made it clear that people are going to get future cash grants, and periodically, and they may want to, not that they have to, they can then utilize the money in this fashion too, because we want people to own things. Everybody must have the opportunity in Guyana to own something or to get more return from their money. A big focus will be on this qualitative issue. We're working heavily on that now. Soon you're going to see a paper. We will put out a white paper. Well, it will be in our manifesto, but even before then, we'll put it up for public discussion because we want people to share their ideas.
The government has repeatedly stated that it is on a mission to create a better life for all citizens. Vice President and General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, Dr. Barjak Dio, has stated that the 38% U.S. tariff was neither surprising nor unexpected. During his weekly press briefing at Freedom House yesterday, Dr. Jagdeo noted that, rather than being caught off guard, stakeholders have been waiting to see the specific nature of the announcement.
The United States of America announced a number of policies that would have implication for trade between Guyana and the United States of America. So I wanted to address that issue right up front, given the numerous calls that we've received from Guyanese who are doing business with the United States of America, exporting or importing from the United States of America, who do not are concerned about the impact of the tariffs announced on their business. Now, many of us have followed the campaign in the United States of America for the elections last year. And it's no secret that President Trump made it clear that should he win the elections, he will seek to address the massive trade imbalance that his country have with several countries around the world. He announced that he would liberally use the mechanism of increasing tariffs to secure a rebalancing of trade between the United States of America and the rest of the world. So President Trump's announcement yesterday did not come as a surprise to us here in Guyana.
Dr. Jagdeo emphasized that reacting to the tariff as it were sudden or unprecedented would be inaccurate, as it aligns with the U.S. President's campaign promises.
He campaigned on this promise. So now that we know what the specifics are, and I want to go through from our initial understanding of all that we have read from yesterday to now, this is the current understanding of what was announced yesterday. I just want to go through some of the features of the announcement. So President Trump imposed a 10% tariff on all countries in the world. So all goods imported into the United States of America will have to pay a 10% tariff to enter into the United States of America. And this 10% rate is applicable to all the countries of the world. That tariff will go into effect on April 5th of 2025, the 10% tariff for all the countries in the world. He also announced individualized reciprocal tariffs that are higher for over 50 countries in the world, in which Guyana is included. These will go into effect on April 9th. Now, how did the United States come up with the higher reciprocal tariff for these countries? What calculation did they use? So a number of people thought that it is based on our own trade barriers, that is higher tariff rates for goods coming from the US, that caused us to be in a higher bracket or in the category of higher reciprocal taxes. From what we looked at, all we have read, it seems as though that all of the countries that have had higher reciprocal tariffs are countries that have been exporting more into the United States of America than they're importing from the United States of America. That is countries that have a trade surplus with the United States of America. So that was it seems as though that is the basis for higher reciprocal tariff, not individualized tariff barriers in each country.
According to UN Comtrade data for 2024, Guyana exported US $3.3 billion worth of goods to the United States, while importing $2.56 billion. This is a trade surplus of $799 million. However, Dr. Jagdeo pointed out the United States reported different figures to the UN Comtrade, stating that Guyana's exports to the U.S. totaled $5.5 billion, imports stood at $1.3 billion, and the trade surplus amounted to $4.1 billion. He added that Guyana's import data indicates the country is importing far more from the United States than what is reflected in the UN Comtrade reports. The Vice President suggests that clarifying this data could significantly reduce the perceived trade surplus. Dr. Jagdeo further explained that Guyana's major trade surplus is primarily due to oil exports in recent years. He concluded that there is still room for discussion with the United States on these trade-related matters. A leading financial expert is backing the government's diplomatic approach to new U.S. trade tariffs. Chartered accountant Terence Jaskaran says talks with the United States are the right move after a 38% reciprocal tariff was imposed on Guyanese goods. In an interview with Ignite News today, Jaskaran said the tariff reflects Washington's push to rebuild its manufacturing sector and reduce trade deficits. He pointed out that last year alone, the U.S. recorded a $1.2 trillion trade deficit. Guyana was among the countries with large surpluses, posting an almost $2 billion surplus in two-way trade. Jaskaran offered several options that Guyana could utilize to address the tariff, but noted the potential negative impacts that could follow.
Some have suggested that Guyana could seek to retaliate with tariff increases of its own on U.S. imports. However, I believe that this would be ill-advised, as it would mean an increase in costs of U.S. goods entering the Guyanese market. And this cost, in turn, will be passed on to the Guyanese consumers, resulting in price increases. Additionally, if those imports are raw materials, then it would result in increased cost of production in a local market that already experiences high production costs, which would mean that our locally produced goods that are produced for export and even for the domestic use become less competitive price-wise.
Jaskaran stated that, unlike other economic powerhouses, Guyana is in no position to fight fire with fire, since, among other issues, consumer prices would increase in both countries.
As such, the position taken by government in dealing with this matter is perhaps the best at this moment. While other sections in the political sphere may be critical of the government, especially during this time, the comments made by the Finance Minister Dr. Ashley Singh should be appreciated, as engaging the U.S. government and gaining a better understanding of the issue as a whole, and then seeking to respond appropriately, is undoubtedly the best step forward.
The accountant suggested that, ultimately, Guyana may look to reduce its common external tariff imposed on U.S. imports, in the hope that the U.S. returns the favor. President Irfan Ali has won the Global Leadership Award for Open Innovation 2024 from the University of California, Berkeley. The award is presented at NASA's Ames Research Center, recognizing his leadership in environmental sustainability and inclusive economic growth. Officials at Berkeley say President Ali's visionary leadership is setting Guyana apart. His government is leading the way in carbon trading and biodiversity conservation. They are working with top institutions like Yale, Harvard, and Oxford to create a stable market for carbon credits. At home, his administration is helping families and businesses. More households now have extra income, and direct support is reaching persons with disabilities, small business owners, and indigenous communities. These policies are helping Guyanese navigate the rising cost of living. And it's not just about Guyana. President Ali is also making an impact across the region. As leader in CARICOM and CELAC, he's working to strengthen economic and diplomatic ties throughout Latin America and the Caribbean. General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, Dr. Bharat Jagdeo, has accused the People's National Congress of attempting to steal citizens' right to vote. Speaking at his weekly press conference yesterday, Dr. Jagdeo gave his party's opinion on the dismissed voter verification case.
So what, in a nutshell, is this all about? Apart from the position that you need to separate the regional and the national elections, so I'm not going to even deal with that. But the core contention is that if they come to your address today, you're on the voters list, and they can't find you there, you lose the right to vote. That is what they're saying to people. Imagine you just move from some area, you go on somewhere else, you go on out the country, they want a verification of the addresses. And so you gone out the country, you just somewhere else, you in the hospital, people say, or something else, you move out, you lose the right to vote. That is what APNU is trying to secure now. Trying to steal people's right to vote. And this will affect everybody, not PPP alone. You just lose your right as a citizen of the country. And the Chief Justice said, no, the Constitution is quite clear.
Attorney General Anil Nandlal has also explained the position of the Constitution on the matter.
The Constitution of Guyana is the supreme law. The Constitution of Guyana speaks to who are qualified to be registered and who are qualified to vote. The Constitution at Article 159 says very clearly that every Guyanese who is 18 years and above shall be qualified to be registered. No other requirement. That Guyanese can be living in Timbuktu, that Guyanese can be living in London, that Guyanese can be living in New York, that Guyanese can be living at Mahaika or Linden. Once that Guyanese is 18 years and above, that Guyanese can be registered. And once that Guyanese is registered, that Guyanese is qualified to vote, unless disqualified by certain disqualifications which are irrelevant for the purpose of the case and for the purpose of this discussion. So that's a clear position.
On Thursday, Acting Chief Justice Roxanne George dismissed a case brought by the People's National Congress Reform Chief Scrutineer Carl Smith Joseph in the voter house-to-house verification matter. In a ruling, Justin George noted that the addresses provided to the Guyana Elections Commission at the time of registration must be accepted by the electoral body, as is not the Commission's role to verify those addresses. Over 300 residential lots were today allocated to residents of Lethem Region 9, while 60 persons benefited from the Lethem Housing Subsidy Program. Minister of Housing and Water Colin Crowell made the announcement at the opening of the Dream Realize event held in Lethem. He told residents of New Culver City Development and Tract Housing 1 that approximately 650 residential lots have been developed between those two areas. There remains a backlog of just about 1,000 house lot applications in the region. Additionally, some 7 certificates of title were distributed to residents, while some 21 families qualify for the cement and steel vouchers. Another 60 families will then begin the process of applying for the Lethem Housing Subsidy Program, which aims to provide affordable housing to 600 low-income families in Lethem. Each house will cost $3 million, with the government contributing $1 million and $2 million being obtained through loans from local banks. Minister Crowell stressed that no citizen will be denied access to affordable housing. Specifically, he explained that young citizens will have the opportunity to apply for their own homes and have them within a timely manner.
Young people used to say, oh, I'm going to get gray before I can get a lot. Or sometimes when they come to the office, they say, I'll have to start walking with stick or wheelchair before I'll see when I'll get my lot. Now, if you're even 23 and you're here in this region, you'll be having the opportunity to get your allocation and to own your own home, because the banks also have been responsive. They've been working as a result of the policies and initiatives we have put in place. So the mortgage lending rate has come down.
The minister highlighted that for low-income earners, the mortgage rate has reduced as much as 3% from over 6%. In this vein, young persons would be early homeowners and able to upgrade their homes further as their income increases. The Guyana Civil Aviation Authority has begun the process for Omni Helicopters Guyana to receive a Guyana Air Operator certificate. This marks a significant milestone in Guyana's aviation industry. Once certified, Omni Helicopters will be the first local rotorcraft air operator to provide offshore flight services for the oil and gas sector. Omni Helicopters is currently certified by the Brazilian Aeronautical Authority and provides offshore flights to the oil and gas sector as a foreign air operator in Guyana. The Aviation Authority states that this initiative enhances local content and builds capacity within Guyana's aviation industry. Director General Lieutenant Colonel retired Egbert Field and team met with senior representatives at Omni Helicopters to lay the foundation for a thorough certification process on Wednesday. During the meeting, they outlined key expectations necessary for regulatory compliance, such as safety and operational excellence. Internationally, the Trump administration has fired the head of National Security Agency and U.S. Cyber Command. General Timothy Yu and his deputy, Wendy Noble, were removed from office today. Also fired, according to reports, were 3 other National Security Council officials. CBS reports that the removal follows a meeting between President Trump and far-right activist Laura Loomer. During the meeting, Loomer reportedly urged the president to fire officials she claimed were disloyal. Democrats called the move deeply disturbing and warned it could put national security at risk. The White House hasn't said why Yu was dismissed, but President Trump recently vowed to remove staff who don't support his agenda. The trade conflict between the United States and China is escalating as Beijing moves to counter tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump. Al Jazeera reports that 34% tariff will be applied to all U.S. goods starting April 10th. This is in addition to existing duties already in place. Earlier this week, President Trump announced a 34% tariff on Chinese imports, bringing the total levies from the U.S. side to 54%. But the dispute isn't limited to tariffs. China is also introducing tighter export controls on rare earth minerals, materials that are crucial to the technology, energy, and defense sectors. The Ministry of Commerce states that these restrictions will safeguard national security and ensure compliance with international obligations. China had already responded to previous U.S. actions by imposing 15% tariffs on American coal and natural gas imports, following Washington's earlier 10% duties. And in sports, England has lost another fast bowler after Ollie Stone was ruled out of the Test summer by a right knee injury. Stone, who played 2 tests last summer and was part of the winter tours to Pakistan and New Zealand, had scans earlier this week, the BBC reported. Subsequent surgery has sidelined the 31-year-old for 14 weeks. This means he will miss all of England's home tests against Zimbabwe and India. Also missing is Mark Wood, who had surgery on a knee injury sustained at the Champions Trophy. It means neither will play any Test cricket before the Ashes Tour of Australia this winter. Real Madrid stars Kylian Mbappe and Antonio Rudiger will not be banned. They have, however, received fines after the Union of European Football Associations ruled under controversial post-match celebrations. The union gave both players suspended 1-game bans for what it called violations of basic rules of decent conduct. That means they'll remain eligible for the Champions League quarterfinals, but are now on a 1-year probation. Al Jazeera reports the disciplinary action comes after the footballers celebrated Real Madrid's penalty shootout win over Atletico Madrid last month in a way deemed indecent. Viral video clips showed Mbappe grabbing his crotch on the field. Rudiger was fined 40,000 euros, while Mbappe will pay 30,000. Midfielder Dani Ceballos also received a 20,000 euro fine, but with no suspension. Vinicius Jr. has been cleared of any wrongdoing. Real Madrid heads to London to face Arsenal on Tuesday in the first leg of the Champions League quarterfinal clash. And that's all for this edition of Ignite News on 6 at 6. For more stories, visit ignitenews.com or follow us on social media. Thanks for watching. I'm Rihanna Nikram. See you tomorrow for more Ignite News.